Green Print plan helped me build a down payment for my new place, and Andrea was extra supportive.
Extra confidence from Green Print, extra care from our people. Extra is our ordinary at Regions.
So happy this morning to welcome Chief John Chambers to the show with the Chattanooga Police Department. Great to see you this morning.
Likewise, thank you.
And I am very excited for our conversation today, actually, because you're here kind of as a yet another type of public service, because you want to address the conversation that we're all hearing about around town of the pay increase. And you have brought with you not just an explanation of why, but some data to go behind it. And wait until you see how proud we all should be of our Chattanooga Police Department. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know where I can start, but do you want to have the first dibs? Do you want to start?
No, you go right ahead.
All right, I want to start within the volume of things, because you were sharing with me that you've got such dedicated members of the police force. You
Absolutely.
certainly don't want to lose any of them.
Yes.
Not only because you're loyal to them, but we need them.
Yes.
And in Chattanooga, the city of Chattanooga gets by far like 4 times as many calls as even Hamilton County. I'll let you expand from there.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're trying to address is retention, right? That's the process of working through what does it look like to implement pay raises for both fire and police. And the reason that's necessary is we are the lowest paid fire department and police department in the region, not just in the county, but in the region. And it's not lowest paid by a little bit. It's significant. And then you look at the amount of work. For instance, the city of Chattanooga, the police department, responded to 231,000 calls for service. So that represents 231,000 members of our community that called us for help, right, in 2024. And the closest entity to us with that calls for service would be the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, which was between 50 to 70,000 calls for service.
So
right?
roughly a quarter of what y'all were taking in.
And we make significantly less.
Right.
And so that's what we're trying to do is look for equity in that, right? And even with what our ask is, we're not asking to be paid significantly more than anybody else based on the amount of work. We just want to be competitive. Right. Right. We lose officers to these other agencies regularly. We've lost 10 just since I've been chief.
11 months ago, right? It's when you became chief, and in almost 1 a month you've lost. So, okay, real quickly, I want to point out to people too that I'm sure you've all been reading about this and hearing of it in the news. So a couple of dates to keep in mind tonight, I think, but then August 26th, the City Council will have a conversation about this, the final vote after Labor Day, right, in early September. So I'm sure as much as people are talking about it around town, you're hearing an awful lot about it in the precincts. Are people hopeful? Yes, they are, and I'll say that, in my time, so, I'm grew up in this area, my whole life, and I've, been with the city of Chattanooga now for 26 plus years, right? So my whole career has been spent here, and I can honestly say that in my time with the Chattanooga Police Department, I have never seen the level of just overall support from the mayor and his staff to the city council as a whole. They all support and recognize that our fire and police officers, they need help. They absolutely need help with this pay. Everyone is on board with that, and I've never seen anything like that. I think what has been discussed, right, and where there's a disagreement is how do we get there? It's not a matter of is there a need or what do we need to do. It's about how we get there, and I appreciate that, and so do the officers. But that isn't necessarily your role to play. Correct. In the how we get there. You're just here to explain to people why y'all feel it's so beneficial. Talk about the men and women who make up the police department. I mean, for most of them, would you guess they dreamed of this even as kids? It does, we do see that, we definitely do, but it's not always the case. What I've found is that, ingrained in certain individuals, they have this innate sense of service. And whenever, whether it's in childhood or sometimes it is later, sometimes we get individuals that are, kind of in their early 30s and, they've got some life experience under them and they've realized that they've yet to find their purpose. And what makes the best cops are those that this truly is their purpose. And that's evidenced by what we saw just this past weekend, right? This past week,
with the floods.
With the floods,
and,
yeah.
and you see, you know, it was on a national scale, but we see this every single day where officers, they never ask, oh my goodness, you know, how do we address this, right? Our cops, they're not trained in any type of water rescue. That's not part of a police academy.
Right.
But what did you see them do, right? They jump straight in, not worried about their own safety. They jumped straight in to get people out because they knew people needed help.
You did mention the police academy. You have one coming up again soon.
Yes. Yeah, we have one starting in September. And right now we're on track to have one of the largest academies that we've had in a couple decades, which is a great sign. We have another one that we'll be getting ready to put on in the spring as well.
I think that one thing that a lot of people are craving these days is that sense of service, yes, but a sense of purpose and connection.
Yes.
The family that you inherit when you become a police officer is probably not even definable.
You know, I think that as humans, right, that's kind of part of the human psychology. We want to be a part. We want to be a part of something greater than ourselves. And when that aligns, that service mentality aligns, those tend to be your best police officers, your best firefighters. That's who we want, right? That's who we're going after. We want those individuals. But more importantly, when we get them in, we want to keep them. And that's where the pay comes in, right? We want to be able to retain those high quality officers and not lose them to our neighbors.
Is there anything, loaded question here, a minute left, but besides talking about the pay increase, is there anything that you feel like the public should know right now about ways that maybe your department is taxed? Like, are traffic concerns a big thing? Is crime something that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so it's always violent crime, you know, and then also traffic concerns. We're seeing a larger number of traffic crashes this year, including fatalities, than what we had seen last year. But last year was a very low year for us, which is a good thing. What I would like to just, as a reminder, right, because we've put it out there that you don't see as many cops on the streets today as you used to. Well, that's because there's not. Right? There's not as many. And I've went back in my presentation to City Council, went all the way back to the year 2000. So 25 years ago, we were staffed with the exact same number of cops. 477 is 477 sworn officers today as we were 25 years ago. And when you look at just 10 years ago, right, we had more officers. We were budgeted for more. We were staffed with more because we didn't have near as many vacancies. And right now, you know, and there's been a 21% increase in calls for service since then, just 10 years ago. So it does become more of a challenge, you know, for us because I do get feedback that we want to see officers on foot and in the community more. And my response to that is, so do I. Right? I do too. I want to see that too. They've got to have time. We have 231,000 members of our community that are calling us for help, and we're going to be there. Sometimes it's a choice. Do you want us walking around or do you want us to be there when you need us? We want to do both, but it's going to take retention. We want to be able to bring these officers in, train them up, and keep them. But that starts with pay.
So right now, you watch for the news to come out and with what City Council decides to do, but now you hear his reasons behind the pay request, increase request. And then if you are a member of the community and you would like to support their efforts and be supportive of them as well as the community that we all call home, they do have applications going on now through the end of the month for their Community Police Academy. It's a great way for you to give back. You can reach out to them for applications with that as well. Thanks for your time.
And just like that, he was gone. My 36-year-old husband and father to our kids was killed by a drunk driver. The insurance company wouldn't talk, so I called the attorney